if you do not
see the screen.
See the screen, yeah. Okay.
It just went away. It just went away. There it is.
Okay. So welcome everybody. I'm a little skittish this morning because I had some issues with Microsoft Teams. This is the agenda for today. And just sort of goals for the project, things that we would like to do, and just some notes about references, artifacts, and the agenda for the next call, and then open discussion. These are very approximate times, and I put the leads on this topic as doing it all, but whenever they need any assistance or on the details or anything, I'd be either Scott or I would be glad to jump in. So perhaps we should just start with some introductions, and then Lisa can take it over. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. So Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Lisa Thompson. I'm the General Manager for Environmental Services, which is a Minnesota-based utility that's large because it's a form of regional government for our largest metropolitan area in Minnesota. I want to welcome you to the first meeting of the Workforce Research Group. I know I'm excited, and I hope that if you aren't yet, you will get there quickly. We plan to conduct these sessions bi-weekly, and I know that's going to be challenging for you because you're all got busy schedules. So I thank you in advance for helping us to be able to spend this time together, and we'll try to make sure that you feel like it was time well spent. Jen Zukowski, my colleague, and I are going to take turns helping facilitate and guide the meeting along. We'll be trying to keep a focus on how to make our virtual meetings inclusive so we can experience the benefits that come from interaction experiences that we know we have when we're all together. We won't be in the same room together, but we can figure out ways to make this virtual work for that benefit. And to that end, there's an open invitation. If at anywhere during this process in our meetings you have ideas or suggestions for ways we could better achieve that intent, please share them so we can bring some continuous learning and improvement to our own teamwork. Since we're planning on doing that to workforce issues, let's try and have that be true of us as a group as well. So trying to create space and offer time to reflect, even in a virtual session, can be challenging. One of the tools that I want to use throughout our work together is called a go-around. Basically, it's pretty simple and straightforward. There's three aspects to it. One is we identify the focus of the go-around. We give some time limitations to it so we can make sure we can get around and stay on schedule. And the third is when you talk, please first introduce yourself by name because we won't be all able to recognize that for a bit here. Maybe later on in our work, we'll start to recognize your voice and connect the name without that. But for now, if you'd start by giving your name, and then when you're done with your statements, just say you're complete, over and out, just some indication so the next person can queue up right away and we can save some of that dead airspace. So with that, I think we should do a quick round, a go around for our introductions. So the focus of the topic is to give your name, where you're from. We can follow, I think, Cello is the next slide, list all of the team members.
No, but I can, if you'd like, I can call on them individually because they see them on the screen.
Yeah, so if we can just queue people up for this session, I think that'll help us move through more efficiently. Just tell us one thing that you'd like to get out of this project. That'll help get us a little bit of insight as to what you're eagerly interested in benefiting from with your time with us. And try and keep it to about a minute because that'll give us time to give everybody a chance and then we can get right back into our agenda.
Lisa, sorry to interrupt. There's a little symbol, if you see where your menu is, that has a raise, has a hand, and then it has on the left side, there's a people thing. So if you click on that, you may be able to get a list of people.
Thank you. All right, so I'll kick us off. I'm Lisa Thompson. One thing that I would really like to get out of this project is finding out what's working for other folks so that I can integrate that with things that we're focused on doing. I think it helps us leap ahead instead of being so incremental. And I know that there's other places doing lots of great things. I'm complete.
Next, Layla Bachelier.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I think it's morning over there, but Layla Bachelier from the Environment Agency / Team 2100. And one thing I'd like to get out of this is similar to Lisa in sort of sharing learning, but sort of understanding how other utilities operate and how we might be able to bring some of the good practice to our utility, well, to our business and organisation. So I'm complete.
Parijat Bardway. I'm sorry if I butchered your name.
That's okay. Hi, I am Parijat. I am from Kansas City Water Department. Like Lisa said, I am also looking for more best practices that are being other utilities are employing, and then how we can share what we have been doing with others. Thank you.
Thank you. Mert?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Mert Maftugil. I'm with Portland Water Bureau. I'm primarily focused on the change management and organizational culture aspects, and I'm here because I believe the workforce needs to be structured and nurtured in a certain way to support those initiatives. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you. Fred?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Fred Ng from Loudoun Water. We are a water utility outside of Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and I've met some of you in the culture work group as well. So one of the main things I want to get out of this is because, like everyone said, they're just best practices, what really works from a workforce perspective. Also learning, very new to Loudoun Water myself, only been there for 6 months. So really looking forward to, looking at what structure would work for everyone and to be able to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you. Nina?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nina Love from DC Water. I'm the Director of Human Resource Business Partners and Inclusion. Just building on what everyone else said about what they hope to get out of this. This is my first time participating in a collaborative project like this. So I'm very excited to learn and hopefully contribute. So thank you.
Scott Haskins?
Scott Haskins, supporting working as the co-principal investigator with Cello, and I'm here to support you all and the project or the UAIM team that's undertaking this project.
Tanya Simmons?
Good morning, this is Tanya. I'm with the City of Baltimore Water and Wastewater Bureau. I'm an operations manager in the utility maintenance division, but I'm a part of this project just to find out what everyone else is doing for change management and to help improve the behaviors of the employees within the division.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Zonetta? Zonetta, you may be on mute.
Talk away. Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. Zonetta English. I'm with Louisville MSD in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm the Strategic Initiatives and Project Delivery Director. I'm also co-leading the organizational culture. So I'm basically here to listen. Very interested in how this all ties together. I don't think I'm going to add any more than what anybody else has said earlier, and just looking forward to just learning and contributing. Thank you.
Thank you, Zonetta. Jennifer Zukovsky.
Good morning, Jen Zuhowski, Manager Workforce and Equity. Sorry, my kindergartner started her day and she's in my office. I am very much looking forward to getting to know you all and understanding what some best practices you found to be useful and helpful in your realm of work, and then also do some benchmarking and understanding what other solutions might be out there that can help us all do better. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's all that I have on my list. Did I miss anybody?
Susan Taylor.
Oh, Susan Taylor. Sorry.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Susan Taylor. I am Lisa Thompson's executive assistant at the Metropolitan Council in St. Paul, Minnesota. I am also very heavily involved in a equity initiative with Jen Zuhowski, and I'm just looking forward to supporting this operation, this initiative, as well as just being able to absorb what I can as we work on our equity initiative. I'm complete.
Thank you. Maggie Boak from Metro Vancouver.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Maggie Boak, and I'm a manager or the manager of our talent management and organization development division in our HR department. We're excited to collaborate with everyone and share ideas. I'm with Metro Vancouver Regional District, so in Canada, and particularly interested in sort of ideas and strategies for engaging our workforce throughout the pandemic.
Thank you. Lisa, this is all that I have on my list. Is there anybody that I didn't call because my list was dynamically changing to the order was changing, so I'm afraid that I missed somebody. Anybody I missed? Okay, well, back to you, Lisa.
Okay, hopefully everybody can see the agenda that Cello is sharing with us. Our first agenda item is to talk about the literature survey, which is going to be the first step in the work that we do. What we're really looking for there is that all of you, we know, are continuous learners because you've joined this process, which is all about continuous learning and sharing. And so this will be our opportunity to share with each other articles and references that we're going to call internal artifacts. And we want to share them so that can be shared with everyone, and we can learn and take from that how we want to build our plan for the future, our WISE utility, as we're probably going to end up calling this model. So I think I did add something to, I added an artifact. I don't know, can I hand it over to Cello at this point to show us how we would add information to our team site so that we can share it with each other and it'll be available for our work?
Yes, let me just quickly, so you guys don't see the slide anymore, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just quickly go to, there are two ways that you can access this document, and I will go to the easiest way now. Let me just share my screen. Okay, I'm gonna have to share my desktop. So this is Microsoft Teams, what you see in the on the screen, and I hope it's big enough for you to see. And you should all be able to get here. In the upper right corner here is where you would select 90 Analytics LLC from the list that you have. The default is going to be the Microsoft Teams space that you have within your organization. If you have not already, if you do not see 9 Analytics, you see when I click on this, if you do not see this option there, please let me know, and we'll make sure that that is fixed. That will give you access to some of these channels that are on the left side, whatever you select. And we have a channel for different efforts. So this one is Workforce. And you would select this channel. If you, the way you can get to these channels is just to let me know, and I will, I'll give you access. So when you go into this channel, you will see that there are some tabs here. The first two, posts and files, they come with the bundle with Microsoft, but the others, the 4 other tabs are for different things that you are basically shortcuts to folders on OneDrive. So Lisa was talking about references. So if you click on references, you will be sent to a folder where some references that we're going to be using in our literature survey have been posted. A number of them here, as you see. There's also a folder for Gallup workforce engagement and so forth. So if you have articles and papers that you'd like to share, you could just drag and drop them into this space. You can open and read whatever articles have been posted here. The next one is Workspace. There's nothing there yet. We haven't started posting there. And there's the utility partner shared documents, where if you click on that, there should be a folder for each of the utilities who are participating in this specific topic. So you would just click on one of these. They're not here today. Like Toho Water, and then you would drag whatever you'd like into this space. So again, the utility partner shared documents are your internal documents that have been created in your organization. Maybe you have some sort of plans or tools or documents that you'd like to share. Utility partners have found this to be very useful to share. They've been sharing asset management plans, they've been sharing risk matrices and all sorts of things. So in this tab here, biweekly calls, is, since we are having our first today, this is the presentation for today, and this is also something that we're going to use to post recordings, like recording of this video and stuff like that. So does that help? Are there any questions on this?
So I have to confess that I already did it wrong. Sorry about that. I think I looked under the references and didn't see the EF folder, but it was one level lower. So I did find a folder for ES and all of the utility partners under the utility partner shared documents. So if you go there and open the MCS folder, you'll see a document that's really a reference that I'll get moved, so it's in the right place.
Yeah, well, we made a distinction between that. Yeah, I can see that there's a document in here that you posted. So it's maybe a little bit confusing, but we just kind of separated the two, especially because I've been very sensitive about the the internal utility partner documents that they're sharing with each other, and that information is actually only for the participating utilities. It doesn't even go to WRF. So it's not part of our reports or things like that. So sorry about that. I will stop sharing my screen and go back to Lisa.
Put up the agenda. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I will. I'm just a step behind. Sorry. Can everybody see the agenda back?
No.
Oh. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah. Yes, takes a second.
Okay. So the next one is identify and select assessment method. Lisa, did you want to talk about this? On any of these, if you want me to kind of provide any support or input, you let me know.
Right. I think I'm going to hand this to you, Cello, because we want to have some consistency between the different groups, the culture and workforce. And so I think if you can be that anchor for us to make sure we're working in sync, that would be great.
Yes, thank you. So we're going to follow the same template, like Lisa says, on each of the efforts, which means that first we're going to look to identify methodologies for assessment, whether it's organizational culture, whether it's workforce, whether it's change management, so that we can understand what kind of tools people use to assess what is the status of that particular aspect within their organization. So there are different methodologies for workforce, different from change management, different for organizational culture, but we would like to look at them and select a method that is promising that for our sector, for our utilities. So we'll be reviewing them and trying to find something that works for us. I'm going to stop here and see if there are any questions. Okay. The next, once we perform an assessment method, we need to put it into a framework so we know sort of what does this assessment method tell us? What does this assessment tell us? So we're going to also look at the available maturity models. We've looked at the maturity models, for example, for business processes, and selected one from CMMI and capability maturity model. And we will look for similar models that would give us sort of a range, a scale, and typical range of characteristics that a certain workforce may have. And there are maturity models out there that we can use. And then we will use that maturity model to identify specifically for our sector, what are the characteristics of a, quote, preferred workforce? What kind of workforce would we like to have? What are the characteristics? What are we trying to achieve? So that we have some way to assess where do we want to go? What is the to-be state that we would like to have? And finally, we're going to look at strategies for closing the gap. And the overall goal of this, the overall goal of this kind of set of things is that we can provide a guidance document, let's say next May when we finish the project, so that people who are not participating in this channel, who may not have we have different types of folks engaged in this effort, people who come from HR, people who come from upper management, but we also have other initiatives where we have people who are in engineering or in operations that would like to be able to make some changes that have to do with processes or technology, but they also have to consider the people issue. So our goal would be to give them some sort of guidelines that they can use to figure out how to achieve better acceptance of their projects. So something that would be fitting for a public utility and would be helpful to making tangible improvements in the organization that are not limited to just what we call people issues, but also to improve performance and metrics and so forth. So I'll just stop now and see if there are any questions or comments or suggestions.
Hey, Cello, this is Mert. I'd like to just bring up something real quick.
Sure.
So to me, like I said during the introduction, I see this as a important step for organizational culture and change management aspects. But one thing I was wondering is, I guess we are talking about not just looking at the broader workforce, but maybe if possible, I also would love to focus on like managerial skills as well. I mean, that's one area I think that could also use some focus to help develop the workforce for the long term. I don't know if that's kind of in the mix, or are we more thinking about development of the technical skills for the workforce?
Well, one beauty of this effort is that it's driven by utilities, and that each utility is provided some cash contributions and are providing in-kind time, and they're all doing it so to make tangible improvements in their organization. So what I presented is sort of a general framework that we're using for our other efforts. And what you bring up is not something that I would make a decision on whether it's included or not. I think I would rely. We have people on this call who are HR directors that have and managers, and I would rely on the collective body of this team to make the judgment what kind of things would be useful. We don't have Catherine Curtis on the call today. She I think had some technical issues with Microsoft Teams, but she's also working with Baywork with, I don't know, 25, 30 utilities on the something about how to prepare workers for the digital future and so forth. So the goal would be really to take the knowledge and the experience that we have in this team and put it in a form that could help others as well. And it could be what you're saying, some guidelines for managers as well. And the other thing is that, yes, we're trying to finish the project by next May, but I'm also hoping that we would develop a network of peer-to-peer relationships between this people who are participating on this team and others, so they would continue to share and work with each other as we go forward. So if, for example, you find that Lisa has posted something that they've done internally, or Jen has posted something, that you would then speak to her directly, and that we would find some synergy in all these all these relationships. So I don't know if it's a too long-winded answer to your question, but the steps that I outlined here are general steps. If you had another step, which is monitoring, you would get something close to 6 Sigma. So it has a technical view of it, but it's really kind of applied to these people issues. Am I answering your question, Mert?
Yeah, I mean, sounds like, I just need to make a point to make sure we as a group entertain that managerial skill set as well as part of assessment method step, which is fine. I'll just bring it up again when the time comes for that step.
So
yeah,
Lisa,
that would be great. Sorry.
Lisa and Cello, if I might interject, this is Scott. Back when Lisa was introducing this and asked for introductions, people were saying, what are they trying to get out of the project? And I think what Mert did was begin a further conversation about, for his utility specifically, what kinds of things that he might want to get out of it. And we were saving it for open discussion and for future meetings. But I think the idea is to make sure that we identify what are the major challenges that utilities are facing. And if that is one type, I know that some utilities, probably Lisa's, is also focusing on leadership as well as manage capability and developing that capability. So I think as we go through all of this, and even next time, if people identify specific areas of focus that they would like to see, that would be real useful for the group.
Thank you, Scott, and you should really not hesitate to jump in at any time. So that is what I wanted to say. So Lisa, I'm getting back to you. Did I do okay? Did this make sense?
It made sense to me, and you did much better than I would have done. So thank you for helping with that. I'll just add on to the comments about management. I think as we define the characteristics of a preferred workforce, I think you can't do it without considering what management needs to be like to support getting to that ideal preferred workforce situation. And in fact, I think a lot of the challenges that we're trying to confront within environmental services has very much with getting a shift in thinking from our managers about being less structural based and more thinking of the whole, because transformation really is looking at the bigger picture as we work on our individual tasks and goals. So I think we're all going to be easily finding that that's a part of the work.
So Lisa, would you just maybe briefly comment on, so it has to do also a little bit with what is an organizational model for how you conduct business, and how does, quote, management or leadership or inclusiveness relate to different kinds of organizational models?
Yeah, I think, I don't think people appreciate how much structure gets in the way of people really contributing and engaging on the work as much as is needed for the kinds of transformation that I think most of us are looking at, sorry, I've got somebody calling me. Okay. The kinds of transformation that I think many of you are thinking about needing to really be ready for that future. The challenges that we have that we can see playing out to not a very good future if we don't start to do some things differently are going to require our workforces to be really agile and working through the solutions. And that isn't going to come through silo approaches. So I think one of our challenges as management is to break down silos. And I hope that's some of the things that I can learn, some of the practices that you all are doing to break down silos that we can also learn from, or I can learn from. The reference that I shared really touches on that topic actually pretty well, and that in order to do large scale change, there's a need to see where you're at with that open-minded thinking about it could be better, but it's going to have to be different in order to get to better. And this is a tool that I have not yet directly applied, but I'm very interested in applying it because it does seem to offer some research-based success, and it has actionable items. So you get the results, but you have very specific things you can do to evolve the workforce's readiness. I don't know if I addressed your ask, Scott, but hopefully.
Well, this is a big subject, obviously, but it's sort of priming the pump here and people's interest. And, when we get to the end, it would be good of the conversation today to just get some feedback from people on what's transpired today and whether they have additional similar interests that we could look ahead to the next call to further define.
So I'm going to do a time check. We are scheduled for another about 20 minutes. I know we want to make sure that we'll have time to talk about our next agenda and have people be able to chime in on their thoughts for our upcoming meetings. The characteristics of a preferred workforce is one of the early things we need to accomplish. I think we could take that up probably at our next meeting, but here's a heads up to be thinking about that because, It probably could be a really long list, but in the end, it would be nice if we can end up with something concise enough that will be helpful for people. So give some thoughts to how you think of a preferred workforce, and with our next meeting, we'll tackle that one.
Lisa, this is Shell. I wonder if this would also, when we looked at things like asset management and CIP and stuff like that, one of the things that we did at the beginning of each of the activities is that people prepared two lists. One was a list of challenges. What keeps you up at night? What are the things that, a list of pain points. And then we just kind of put that list aside. And we also developed a list of things that they would like to have, things that they would like to have. And we would put that aside as well, so that later, as we look at assessment methods or characteristics of a preferred workforce, so if we put some characteristic, that we can check each of them against, does it solve this challenge? And does it get us to this goal that we stated? And it doesn't have to be so rigid and fixed, but at least to have like maybe a structure for it. Does that make sense?
See, Lisa's head was nodding.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so if that makes sense, perhaps people could have a bit of homework in the next couple of weeks to maybe consider what kind of things they would like to put on the list of challenges and on the characteristics of a preferred workforce. Lisa, did you have that in mind when you talked about homework?
Yes. So maybe you can help us. Is this going to be a shared document we could put right on our team site? And so if it's formatted in a table, we could just be adding our thoughts to the table?
Absolutely. That's a great idea, and I'll make it happen right after this meeting.
Thank you, Cello.
And I'll send out an email to everybody, letting them know where it is and how to get to it and stuff like that. Okay.
So we have a couple people with their hands raised. Let's give Nina and then Jen.
Hi, thank you. This is Nina. If you could spend a minute talking about preferred and how you're defining that.
Okay. Lisa, did you want to talk about that? You're on mute, or you want me to? Okay.
Well, I can give you my thoughts on that. Now, again, Cello, from the standpoint of consistency from the different groups and their focus, you may have something that is relevant for, say, the culture group as well. But I think preferred would be desired. If we could wave a magic wand, what would we want it to be?
Yes, that and so it's stated in terms of characteristics, and it could be descriptive, like we'd like to have people feel free to share their thoughts in a meeting, or we'd like to things that we would be able to sort of achieve and measure later. And Nina, you're a professional in this area, and I'm not, so I'm sure you'll come up with better ones than I can, examples than I can come up with.
But Lisa made a comment about a magic wand, and one method, because this is a participatory process, is if in a call we made the rounds and we said, let's do a round, everyone identify, if you had a magic wand and you could create a desired future, a preferred workforce, what would the one thing be that you would identify that would be a characteristic of that preferred workforce? And then, we could assemble, that kind of list and go around more than once if we wanted to. And pretty soon you would actually develop, with the team, what a preferred workforce might look like. And there's been some discussion already today, on some of that as well, but it could be structured so that we put together something where we would have a preferred workforce, which is almost like what an objective would be. And then if we said, what are the challenges or what are the obstacles that get in the way of that, was the other issue that, that Cello raised, that could be part of a collaborative dialogue with the team. Does that make sense, Nina?
It does. Thank you.
So Jen Zukovsky as well had a hand up, but you're on mute, Jen.
Hi. I think it might also be okay to point out that it's okay to not know what you don't know. So in organizations where they just don't know what a ideal workforce might look like, or they just may not be apprised, that's okay, that it can be a learning, growing process. So we might know the state of our organization right now, but through this, they might come up with some more ideas as to what a preferred or ideal workforce might look like. And I'm complete.
That's excellent, Jen. I think that what I was trying to say early on is that there's benefits that come from interactions that you won't get without. So I know that I'm going to have some shifts and some gains in my thinking from interacting with you, all of you, and I hope that'll be true for everyone else. We're looking through a different set of lenses. We're in different situations, but ultimately we all have similar challenges in terms of how to make sure that our future is going to be good for all. I'm complete.
Thank you. So we will, at our next call, we will look at what we've collected in terms of challenges and the characteristics of a preferred workforce. And so that'll be certainly an agenda item for next call. This was meant to be an open discussion for everybody. I put Lisa and Jen, but I meant really them kind of facilitating the discussion. And one of the things that I'd like to point out is these remote conference calls are a little bit difficult to get the same kind of interaction and energy that we get if we get people in a room. We can't read the body language. If somebody's keen to talk or if somebody's bored, we can't react to it. So it's really better if people just kind of step forward and voice their opinion. Because every thought contributed gives value to everybody else. And I know that it's these days you have a lot of these conference calls sitting in, looking at the screen and stuff like that. So let's all help each other and raise our hands and participate. Otherwise, I'm gonna overstep my bounds and try and start calling on people to say something which really wouldn't be preferred. So any ideas for the agenda for next call, either from Lisa or Jen or anybody else, suggestions of things that you'd like to have included?
So before we jump into that, Jen and Nina, your hands are still raised. Do you have anything additional to say, or do you just need to lower your hands?
This is Nina. I did want to add something. Thank you. So I just want to make sure that I have an understanding, and it took me a minute to process your explanation of preferred. I think, and you can let me know if I'm on the right track. So when we talk about characteristics, are we looking at knowledge, skills, abilities, and competencies? And what are those preferred characteristics and really required to drive efficiency and performance in the workplace?
If I'm going to answer that question, Lisa, is that okay? I think that those are certainly very valuable aspects, But I think an additional aspect is employee engagement that is a very critical component, because if somebody has all the right skills, but may not feel that they can apply them, may not feel that they're heard, and then things are not really optimal. And if I can share a personal, experience with this, I've been in this business for many years, about half of them working as a utility employee, half of them working as a consultant. And when I first started my consulting assignments, I was really concerned because they were paying a lot of money for my time. And I thought, how am I going to walk into an organization and find out what their issues are and how they should fix them? And I was kind of nervous about that. And then I realized that it's actually not difficult at all, because I could walk in and my skill had to be to find the people who know. And I worked from New York to Tokyo to UK, all over the US. There were always people in the organizations who had a very keen sense for what is going on. They were not getting paid as much as consultants, but nobody was listening to them. And if I would just write up what those people told me and try to put it in some sort, they perceive that as very valuable. And so I think one of the things that would be tremendous is that if we look at the data for employee engagement, it is kind of regrettable, because in the US, the number of people who are truly engaged is 30%, which is much higher than in the country that I come from, which is Croatia, where it's 3%. Vast majority of the people are in the middle, which means they come in and punch the clock. And between 18 and 24% are actually actively working to undermine the goals of the agency. So if that was a 4-engine airplane, you would have one engine going, pushing the plane forward, 2 engines being dead, and 1 engine going the other way, and probably wouldn't fly very, very well. So the skills and the training are excellent things to empower the workforce, but to create a structure that will allow their voices to be heard, that would allow them to trust that the organization is listening, that it's fair, that it's just. And it is a deeper human kind of issue. So I think the things that you mentioned are very important, because they all bring value to the utility. And maybe we can also find some things that bring value to the human beings that work in a utility as well. And have anyway, I'm sorry for getting on this too long.
No, that was very helpful. And so, I mean, adding behaviors and attitudes, when you talk about engagement, that would be an example of an attitude. And how do we measure if somebody is engaged, or if there's a level of trust?
Yes.
No, thank you. That was very helpful.
I think if I could add it, the way I like to think of it is, if it's something that you would attribute or workforce description that's true of everyone in the organization. So as people get into their specific jobs and roles, it gets real specific, but the organization as a whole, what would you like every single member of that organization have be true of them? So we know that if we're more inclusive, that employees will do their best creative, connected, and collaborative work. So what does that mean for me as a manager? What does that mean for me as an employee to support a more inclusive? And it connects back to what Cello was referring to as engaged. So how do we get there? So I think that's maybe kind of a general overarching, what do we see as needs for the workforce? And then we'll get into more specifics.
Lisa, this is Scott. I'm wondering, just looking back to your time check, we have about 8 minutes, and would it be, I think we've talked about references, artifacts, agenda for next call. Might it be appropriate to just go around the horn and say, what did people like about this this particular session, and what might they be looking for, beyond what we did, this go around, maybe just getting that feedback, before we conclude. Does that make sense, Lisa?
It does. So we'll have to be quick. We'll do a go around like we did before. Two things then that Scott mentioned. One would be, what was one thing you liked about this meeting? And number two, what would you like to see in the upcoming meeting? Whether it's an agenda item or a change in how we're managing the interaction in the meeting. So I will start with, I think it's good that we are getting launched, and there's been some great questions, and I've appreciated that. What I'd like for the next time, if it's possible for you to put your camera on, I think then we can be more connected, and I would love to see more cameras and more faces next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Layla?
Hi, everybody. I think I've liked about the call is that people, it's a manager, people have been raising their hands. And so I know if I had a point, if I raised my hand, you guys would come to me and I could be able to sort of express that. So that's really helpful to know that, the management virtually is, it's good. And going forward, if we have a point, we can just raise our hands and we'll circle back to that if there's a discussion ongoing. And something I'd look forward to in the future is sort of getting more into the detail of sort of characteristics of the preferred workforce and sort of discussing. I think we need to identify the different kind of veins of what we're looking for. So whether it's sort of the skills or the behaviours or the attitudes and the different pathways we need to go down and link all together to come up with an overarching picture of a preferred workforce. So that's me complete.
Thank you. Parijat? You're on mute, Parijat. Okay, we'll give Parijat some time. Maggie?
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I think things went well. I mean, we're just getting started. I would look forward, I'm looking for some quick wins for our organization, just in terms of ideas and initiatives that others are doing that we could learn from. So more about, I'd personally be interested in hearing more about what other organizations are doing, whether they be programs or initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Mert?
Hi, everyone again. So for me, I'm excited about it. That's what I liked about it the most. I also liked the comment Lisa made about the being a little careful with the structure and the hierarchy, and how it could be a bit of an obstacle. And I'm glad that was brought up as well. So looking forward to finding the right mix there going forward to support the organizational culture and change management aspects too. Thank you. I'm done.
Thanks, Mert. Fred Ng?
Hey, thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, I think it went very well. I really like the collaboration and the different ideas as well. And I actually have some of the same questions that Nina had, so thanks, Nina, for leading, with those clarification. And I think for next time, I would recommend from an agenda perspective, if we can kind of look at the outcome as well, and kind of have that in advance, right? So when we come to the table, not only we know what's coming, but kind of what we want to get out of it, such as the characteristics of a preferred workforce at the end of that discussion, right? At a minimum, what do we want to just have 5 different ideas and try to narrow it down? It doesn't have to be very specific, but some kind of a goalpost, right, for us to kind of aim at for each of the item. That would be great. Thanks.
Thank you, Fred. Nina?
Sorry, I was not prepared with the unmute button. I would add on to what Frederick said. Well, what I appreciate about this is the opportunity to be heard and to ask my clarifying questions. So thank you very much for that. It will be helpful for me moving forward to get, my mind around what we're working on. Next time I would like to begin with the end in mind, and having a clear picture of what the outcome is to help us get there. So thank you.
Thanks, Nina. Tanya Simmons.
Good morning. I did like hearing that the group is working towards a guidance document. And I'm assuming it's different examples of changes that utilities have put in place to change the culture. I'm interested in seeing some of those examples. And I love hearing that you also want to basically get employee buy-in, because a lot of these culture changes affect them directly, but usually they have no voice when the changes are being developed and prepared. So I'm looking forward to seeing those different examples and what other utilities have done to bring the workforce together.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Zonetta?
Yes, I've wanted, just because I've been listening to what everyone has said, I want to just offer an artifact that I will give you, Dr. Cello, so that you can add. That probably be the quickest. But I just wanted to share with the team that the Water Research Foundation did a whole project and talk about workforce for wastewater utilities. They have 8 attributes. And I think that I like to share that for you guys to review. So I think that would help with the context of what you want to get to the end, because it involved HR managers, engineers, people from all aspects of the utilities in the country from all across to help with framing that. And I think that will kind of help the group. So that's the only thing I wanted to add.
Thank you very much. Susan?
Hi, yes, thank you. I agree with what everybody said. I really don't have anything else to add at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Jen Sokowski?
I thought it went well, that people were a little more engaged in asking questions and offering feedback. So I'm hopeful that we'll continue to develop those relationships and everyone will feel empowered and able to speak up. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're about a minute over. I'm going to stop the recording now. Give me just a second. And